Namaste. And welcome to the people who are watching. Welcome to this Wesak festival. Together with probably billions and billions of people all over the world, we're doing this meditation. So let us invoke for divine blessing, shall we? Put your hands on your heart, raise it high up. To the divine supreme God, divine Father, divine Mother, we thank you for your great, great blessings. To our beloved teacher, Master Swahok Sri Mahaguruji Melik, to all the spiritual teachers, to all the holy masters, to all the saints, to all the holy archangels, holy angels, and spiritual helpers, to our soul, to our divine self, we humbly invoke for your divine blessings of divine love, divine light, divine guidance, help and protection. Thank you for blessing us with a loving heart, an intelligent mind, and a powerful will, that we be able to serve God and serve others. We thank you for this great opportunity to serve. With gratitude, with great respect, with tremendous love, we thank you all. Alright, so before we do the meditation, let's just have a short lecture. For some of you who are new, the Wesak Festival meditation is a tradition that has been practiced for, well, at least 2,500 years. Wesak or Wesak commemorates the birth, the enlightenment, and living of the body of Lord Buddha. Now, it's a present living event, the sacred ceremony which takes place each year between the Buddha, the Christ, and the spiritual hierarchy. So let's just make it very Before the Lord Buddha left his body, he promised to come back every year to bring a certain amount of energy that is needed to help another year. It's just like, because of his spiritual connection, he's able to tap into a bigger reservoir of power source. So every year, in order to help humanity evolve faster and also to protect humanity, the Lord Buddha shows up in energy form for 8 hours, not 8 hours, 8 minutes in the Himalayas. And from there, tremendous amount of energy comes down, the energy is handed to the Lord Christ, to all the spiritual teachers, spiritual elders, and then all of us, whether you like it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, we are also participating. It is only your body that is here. Okay? So, it's one of those things where it's a great opportunity to really be of service. A lot of people talk about, keeping the planet green. All that is good. That's on the physical side. But on the spiritual side, to really have preservation of Mother Earth, people have to be spiritualized. Okay? So, according to some people, this is supposed to be the valley where the great teacher energetically shows up and all the spiritual disciples show up to receive the blessing and the energy. It's called the Wesak Valley. And according to Master Choa, this is very, very important. There's a definite effect of the spiritual experience of Wesak meditation, regardless of the ability to the brain to do what? Comprehend. So it's something like this. A lot of people say, well, I don't feel anything. Whether you feel something or not does not change the fact that something's happening. Clear? Some of you, I shared a story where one night, I told my wife, let me sleep in the other room. I said, okay, so I went to the guest room, and then in the middle of the night, I saw a flash of light. The engineer might say, yeah, somebody passing by, the headlights hit the blinds, so it flashed. So when I tried to get up and close the blinds, I noticed my body was electrocuted, I couldn't move. And this went on for hours, at least I thought so. In the morning I go, man, that was one weird dream. And that went on, that went away. And then a few months later, when my sister was in the United States, I told him the story. He started laughing. He said, you know what happened? That night you're describing is also the exact time where the Wesak festival happened. You might not be interested, you might not believe it, but whether you like it or not, your soul participated. Do you get my point? So the question is, why did my body feel electrocuted? It's something like this. If the energy is trying to go in and you doubt, you hinder the flow, you increase your resistance. When you increase your resistance, as the energy tries to go in, it's forcing its way through. Like that. You get that point? It's just like when you watch these charismatic healings, in the lay of so-and-so, they smack you. They bless you. When they fall over, a lot of times because the energy is so strong, it overwhelms their cells. Now, it overwhelms because maybe they're not ready, but in this case, in my case, it was a conscious resistance because of my background before. I was a Southern Baptist and engineer. You try to tell me all these things happen, you gotta be kidding me. So even though the brain and the mind resisted, it does not change the fact that the soul that uses the mind says yes, even though the body said no. Do you get what we're saying? So regardless of the ability of the brain to comprehend, and register it is happening now. Wesak full moon, the most powerful full moon of the year. When you do the meditation, we're going to be in an ancient geometric pattern. That geometric pattern works something like this. On this stage, and this is also happening all over the world in different areas that message was taught, there's going to be a 5-pointed star, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a circle of 7, a circle of 9. So essentially, because of this geometric figure, tremendous amount of energy pours right into the star, goes into the 7, goes to the 9. Essentially, each one is a shock absorber for the one after. You get my point? So the people in the front row get ready to be barbecued. Essentially, when the energy hits here, you absorb it, and then by the time it hits the back of the room, it still be tremendously powerful, but at least it's tempered, filtered, calibrated. That's why we ask the people who do meditation, spiritual work, perfectly sit in the front to act as a buffer for the people in the back. Nevertheless, energy still pours down the spiritual cord. Is that clear? Okay. Now, I remember Master Cho was saying, when 7 people doing meditation, twin hearts together, the energy they generate is equivalent to approximately 100 or more people meditating separately. Now, just try to imagine tonight, in this particular, in an hour and 20 minutes, you're going to have millions and millions of people doing the meditation at the same time. Now, once we affirm oneness, it's as if all of us are sitting in one big hall. Could you imagine the energy coming down? That's why we said, well, after the meditation, make sure you have your projects, the things you want to bless, your loved ones and friends who are having a difficult time, have them all in front of you, so that after the meditation, when you have all this energy, you can channel it and bless those people and those projects. Okay? How we doing? Okay? Now, what is the effect of doing the meditation? Number one, the evolution of the soul. If you have a cloud look, you have the physical body, there's a brilliant light pouring down, it's called your spiritual cord. If a cloud look is any higher, there's brilliant light way above. When you do the meditation, it's just like there's an explosion of light. The energy just pours down to these different levels of light until it finally reaches our brain and our physical body. So when you consciously participate, as the energy is able to go through, in the process there's transformation. There's what? There's transformation. Okay, so there's the evolution of the soul, the purification of the vehicles. What exactly does that mean? Well, if you stand under a shower, it has cleansing. If you stand under Niagara Falls, there's really cleansing. So during the full moon, especially this one, the Wesak Festival, the energy pouring down is really like under a Niagara Falls of spiritual energy. So if you're smart, you take advantage of the opportunity. If there's some emotional garbage, some resentment, anger that you're having difficulty, getting rid of, this is the time. You get my point? So with minimal effort, as the energy is coming down, all you have to do is, Lord God, please, I want to get rid of this, get rid of that. During the meditation, as you're doing the blessing, the energy pours out, it pushes it out. So while we're going through the lecture, if you keep a few things in mind, what are the emotional stuff, blockages, obstacles in your life that you think are hindering your success, physically, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. Just keep those in mind. So when you start the meditation, when the invocation happens, just silently ask, Lord God, I want to get rid of this. This has been troubling me for who knows how long. I want to get rid of it. Nobody has to know but you. Clear? How we doing? You understand my Chinese English? Okay, there's more. Next one, generation of good karma. The bulk of the meditation is blessing the earth. Is what? Blessing the earth. So, whether you like it or not, as you bless the earth, as the energy passes through you, since we're the instruments, we're given the opportunity to generate good karma. So although your focus is not that, as you help bless the earth, it helps you. We'll repeat the lecture again. Many years ago, I remember a message was talking to me. He said, there's this vision that he had. I think he was sitting on the plane. He looked out and he saw a vision of a brilliant light shooting down to a town. From there, he intuited, principle of ensoulment. What is it? Principle of ensoulment. Do you remember Sodom and Gomorrah? Okay, the story goes what? Lot was negotiating with God. He said, okay, please spare the cities. God said, okay, you give me what? 50? Is that 50 first one? Righteous people, I'll spare the city. No 50 people. Okay, 10. I think 10 was the next one they negotiated, right? 10. No 10. Okay, one. Still none. So the place was destroyed. So he was explaining, look, the lesson is something like this. The opposite is also true. Principle of ensoulment says, with more people with bigger spiritual cord, more divine energy comes down that's anchored to the earth. So if less righteous people might allow a place to be destroyed, more righteous, good spiritual people might actually help save and preserve a certain place. You get my point so far? Now, a lot of people talk about 2012 being the end of this, the end of that. I don't know about you, but I don't have a clue. I really don't. And people could be right, people could be wrong. So we choose to take the proactive approach, which is based on the principle of ensoulment. The more people become more spiritualized, the better chance to either postpone or hopefully dismiss any of these possible earthly karmic things to happen. That's one way. There's another way, sit there and wallow in fear and keep waiting, look at your clock when the world's going to end. You get my point? I have a favorite cartoon. So this thing about 2012, I found this nice cartoon. It's based on the Mayan calendar. So I thought, there's this cartoon, this guy's doing the Mayan calendar. When it got to 2012, oh man, no more room. Okay, it ends. Anyway, that's the cartoon. I'm hoping the cartoon is more accurate than real life. Okay, let's continue. Okay, the whole master got quote. The teacher who taught to walk way to Alice Day. No cost is too great to pay in order to be what? Obvious to the spiritual hierarchy at the time of the Wesak festival. No price is too high in order to gain the spiritual illumination which can be possible. Very, very deep words from the great teacher. So when you keep that in mind when you meditate, there will be a lot of things that change in your life after the meditation. Clear? It only requires one thing. Choice. Clear? Choice. What do you mean by choice? You know, if you have a Christian tradition, they always say, Lord, use me. Here I am, use me. So when you do the meditation, you participate in blessing the earth. Clear? How are we doing? Am I going too fast? No. I want to make sure we catch that time. So far we're good. Okay. I remember my sister was saying, for the last 2,500 years, every time the Wesak festival happens, these teachings have to be repeated. Okay? The Four Noble Truths taught by the Lord Buddha. Number one, there is suffering in life. Number two, what are the origins of suffering? Number three, suffering can end or can be overcome. And number four, how to do it. The way to end suffering. How to do it? Most of you know this already. Okay. Now, the easy way to understand is like this. Oftentimes the Lord Buddha is called the great physician. So, suffering in, I think, I forgot ancient Indian language, is dukkha. What language is that?
Dukkha.
Sanskrit. And guess what? In Filipino, in Tagalog, guess how they call extreme hardship? Dukkha. So, very, very similar. So, the way to understand is like this. If you look at the Four Noble Truths, there's suffering in life, origins of the suffering can end, and how to end it. To look at it another way, the ailment is suffering. What are the causes of that ailment? The third is, this ailment can be cured. And number four, what's the cure? Now, when I first heard this, I go, okay, so what? Then when I started to talk about it more, I realized like, wow, if everybody heard this, people will have more inner peace. So let's just talk about it to just help remind the people. Alright. Noble truth number one. Is life dukkha or is there dukkha or suffering in life? Oftentimes in the Buddhist tradition they say all life is suffering. Have you ever heard that before? Well, if all life is suffering, no point in teaching the causes and how to end it. You're screwed. You don't sorry. A lot of people are listening. Anyway, in other words, what's the point? Right? So it is not all life, all is suffering. There is suffering in life. Clear? So that's first noble truth. Second noble truth, what are the origins of dukkha? What are the origins of the suffering? We'll just name a few. The first one is what? Enslavement by unwholesome desire. Here's the problem. We've talked to some people who study Buddhism, and they make a flat statement. all desire is bad. Are you sure? What's wrong with having the desire to serve God? What's wrong with having the desire to love your family? What's wrong with the desire to have good health? You get my point? The problem is not desire, because seeking God, having good health, loving relationships, these are good. The problem is, the cause of suffering or dukkha is not desire itself, but what? Read it. Unregulated, unwholesome, excessive desire. Clear? How we doing? Okay. So unregulated desire, excessive attachment to people, to drugs, to sex, to gambling, anything that's excessive and you're clinging to it, you're attached to it, you cannot let go, that causes suffering. How are we doing? You know, it has to make sense. So what is first level of truth? There is suffering in life. Second level of truth, what are the causes or the origin of this suffering? What's one of them? Unregulated, unwholesome, excessive desire. Okay, let's move to the third one. Oh, the second one. Second cause of suffering is, what did you read it? Unrealistic expectations that favorable. Everything is subject to change. You know why? It's based on the 3 C's. The law of change, the first C, the law of cycle, the second C, and the law of consequence, the third C. Because of these 3 C's, you cannot expect anything to be permanent. So to expect everything to be good or bad consistently is setting ourselves up to be what? To have suffering. Everything will change. Alright? Let's talk about it a little bit. The law of change, I think we have talked about it. Obvious. It's obvious. Second, let's talk about law of cycles. There are different seasons, astrological cycles, financial cycles. Remember in the Old Testament? I think it was Joseph, right? He saw the vision of what? 7 fat cows, 7 lean cows, 7 good years, 7 not so good years. So everything is subject to what? To change. Okay, now. The third C, I brought a pointer. The third C is the law of consequence, or the law of karma. At any given time, we are, what is the law of karma? Cause and effect. At any given time, our thoughts are planting new causes. Our emotions, our actions, at any given time, we're doing this. Multiply that with what? Billions of people in the world, that's physical, and probably billions of beings in the inner world. Do you see how many things are set in motion? With all these things that are set in motion, at any given time, certain things could cause something you like or something not you like to happen. So by the time you add these 3 C's, law of change, what's the second one? Law of cycles, and law of consequence, how could you expect anything to be permanent? So sometimes they say that Buddhism is the thinking person's religion. Because when something goes wrong, well, everything's subject to change, and that's that. You getting angry and upset about it, well, it's not going to change anything. You might have learned to realize that everything will what? Will change. Okay, the example message show uses something like this. You go out, you pick a very beautiful flower. Oh, it's nice, it smells good and everything. You wait a few hours, okay, it's nice. The next day, it's not as nice, maybe not smell as good. 3 or 4 days later, it's bitter. If you sit there and you go, after 4 days, I want it to be like the first day. That's not, you suffer. You want to hear another story?
Yes.
Okay, I just heard this not too long ago. Well, it was around physically. The story was something like this. There are different versions of this. So there's this beautiful, beautiful woman just died. The body just died. And they were going to bury the body. So the Lord Buddha said, no, not yet. Leave her here. And he told all his senior disciples to sit around the corpse. So this happened, beautiful, nice skin, so on, so on, so on. And this went on, first day, second day, by the third day. Get the idea? They start smelling, they start seeing decomposition. And of course, after, I'm not a doctor, so how long does it take for the body to decompose? At some point, the disciples learn the lesson. Nothing is what? Permanent. Even anything as beautiful as that, at some point, they have to learn detachment. Things are always subject to change. Are you good? Yes. All right. So the question is, how do you make the whole thing work together? Let's talk about this. All right. Let's see how we're doing with time. Okay. Pretty good. All right. Let's say a person is down here. You know, there's the law of cycle, right? So, when things are not yet so good in your life, you use the law of karma and the law of cycles. You see, law of cycle and law of change and law of karma work together. If you're at the bottom, you're not going to stay at the bottom. By the sheer law of change, it will not be the same. That's one. Law of cycle says, if you're at the bottom, you're not going to stay at the bottom. At some point, where would you be? Okay. And the third one is the law of karma, law of consequence, in which it's a technology for you to plant certain causes if you want certain effects. So if a person's down here, they say, things are not doing so great. But anyway, this will not last. Things will improve. Now in the meantime, I'm going to use the law of karma to plant good seeds. I'll heal people, I'll give money to charity, I'll do good deeds, right? That's a spiritual investment. Then at the same time, when you're there, you go, I'll try to do my spiritual practice. If things are not doing so well, that's the optimum time to do your spiritual practice. Haven't you noticed, some of you, when life came crashing down, that's when you went back on your spiritual path? Anybody? Crisis has a way of doing it. It slaps you back on the spiritual path. So you're here and say, okay, let me do that. Then as the law cycle happens and the law change, you go to be on top. Now when you're on top, you can do no wrong. Anything you touch turns to gold. So people who are not smart, hey, everything's good. So what do? They squander their money, right? They take their resources, they spend it all. Hey, they think everything's Sunday. They think everything's always be good, but in your case, you're smart. I learned that everything's subject to change. So all these good times, it's not going to last. It's subject to change. So here's what I'm going to do. Since things are doing good, my health is good, my resources are good, I'm going to use this opportunity to save some money, give more money to charity, now that you have more, for spiritual investment. Help people in need. You need so far? So you're planting seeds. You're investing spiritually, you're investing emotionally, relationship, you're investing spiritually. Then guess what happens? You go, oh, this thing's not going to last. No problem. Sure enough, it will drop down here. When it drops down here, you just say, well, good thing I have a spiritual savings account, a relationship savings account. When your things are doing well, people need you help them. If you're down here, you need help because you help them, they're more likely to help you. That's your cushion. Then you go, okay, it's all right, things are not doing so good. Hey, everything's subject to change. This too will move up. So, it moves up. When you're up here, guess what? You do the same darn thing again. You save, you tithe, you do good works. You use that opportunity while you have so much resources on all levels to generate more good karma. Look, you're just using a law that's already there. You don't use it, it's your loss. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. You might as well, it's already there. You use it. So, let's summarize. So when you're down here, okay, finally moved up. When you have, you save, you spiritually evolve, you help people, okay, it goes down. So at some point, you cannot change, you cannot stop the law of change. You cannot stop the law of cycles. But you can change or stop how the negative part affects you. So when things are not doing so hot, you use the resources and everything you have when things are good. After a while, guess what happens? This spiral, although you're constantly having change and constantly having cycles, if this is first year and that is 5 years from now, you are still going to be way off, better off than if you didn't do anything. Do you get my point? You cannot stop the law of cycles. It will also go down and go up. There will always be change. But if you're smart, when things are good, what do? You save, you use that opportunity to generate good karma. When things are not so good, hey, you conserve. So in the end, even though you're here and you end up being here, true, there's a cycle, but you're still ahead. Do you understand the simple teaching? Yes. There's things you cannot change, but there are things you can change and affect. And that's a very simple teaching. How do you so far here? You okay? All right, let's move on. Now, noble truth number 3. This dukkha or this suffering can end. There's only one question. When? Isn't it? When you're in pain, how much longer is it going to last? Isn't that the obvious question? Okay. The simple answer that I was sharing is something like this. How long suffering stays as suffering depends on our attitude and response to that situation. Simple example. Somebody hurt your feelings. They scream and yell, did something bad to you. So, you have two choices. Choice number one. You sit there, that son of a this and someone, and you do this, you hold on to the grudge and the resentment for the next 10, 15 years. They don't know and they don't care, they're the ones suffering. So your dukkha or your suffering is stretched 15 years. Right? Or you're smart, you say, I learned from the teacher said, learn to forgive and let go. So instead of holding for the next 10, 15 years, you say, everybody makes mistakes. If I'm in this situation, I had that kind of childhood, that situation, hey, I could have done the same wrong thing. For me to hold on to the pain and anger, it only hurts me. Okay, I forgive you, I just don't want to see you again. You see, the same situation, different response. So if you respond to say, everything is subject to change. Everything is subject to the law of karma. So if this happened to me, I must have done this to somebody else. So I accept responsibility, I want to grow, leave it at that, forgive, let go, good night, goodbye. So instead of the dukkha extending to 15 years, it could be a few days. And guess what? There's nobody to blame if it's 15 years, not you, but us. But if you say, look, enough is enough. If I forgive, I can live my life without worry. I can sleep at night. It's good for my health. And this guy probably doesn't care. Whatever. I like the mantra. Om, whatever, Om. The mantra of detachment. Om, whatever, Om. Okay. Clear? What is the third noble truth? This suffering can end, but it depends on what? Our attitude. If we choose to hold on to it, because that person, he smiled at me, that person, he betrayed me, blah, blah, you play this in your mind again. It's like a broken record. They don't know, they don't care. We're the only ones suffering. But if you change your attitude, what happens? Instead of this far, what happens? It's your turn. Now, somebody going, yeah, but if I keep forgiving this, look, we all have this much to talk about this, we'll be blunt. Any rationalization we do does not change them. You get my point? Yeah, but if I do this, they don't know, they don't care. You're the only one suffering. So if you're smart, you say, enough is enough, I want to move on with my life. So you can end that dukkha. How are we doing so far? Then the number one thing people say, but I can't help myself. How have I done before? Well, it's obvious. You know what you do? You seek counseling, you go have somebody do pranic psychotherapy, learn cut cords, do your meditation, instead of sitting there and feeling bad for yourself. Do something about it. Again, the response determines how long dukkha stays dukkha. Clear? And the last one, the way to overcome this dukkha is called what? The Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path. Alright. Let's see, we're good. Alright, Eightfold Path. Let's just go through it quickly. By the way, if you don't have it written down, you do a search on Eightfold Path, you probably have, 10 million links. Okay? The Eightfold Path. Right viewpoint, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right spiritual effort, right awareness or mindfulness. Let's break it down. Now here's the interesting part. There's 8 of them, right? But actually you can categorize them under 2 main categories. Number 1 is the first category, and then 2 to 8. The first one is right viewpoint. What is it? Right viewpoint. Right viewpoint is the most critical one. Without right viewpoint, without properly assessing the situation, you would not know what right thinking is. True or not true? If you don't have all the facts, how would you know what would be the right thing to say? If you don't have all the data, how would you know what would be the right action? Everything banks on the first guy. Right viewpoint. Have you ever had this happen to you? There's a certain situation, you only have this much data, and you explode it, and later on you go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Because you acted without proper viewpoint. So in Arhatic Yoga, it's very obvious. There's the virtue of accurate perception, correct expression. Accurate perception means what? Careful observation and correct interpretation of what you observe. Do you get my point? For example, you look at someone, you go, I think this person's angry with me. Well, how do you come up with that conclusion? I don't know, I just feel like it. Okay, wait. Let me see. Look at the person's physical movement, look at their face. They're not angry with me, they're having back pain. So they're like this, not because they're good like this, because their back hurts. So careful observation and what? Correct interpretation. Now if you go, hey, you're looking at me funny, what do you want? You think they're angry with you, they're not pain. So you would not have what? Said and acted properly. You get my point? Am I communicating?
Yes.
Accurate perception is extremely critical. A lot of times, you hear the saying, mouth moves without the brain moving first. Big problem. In other words, you do not properly assess, and then what? You start screaming, yelling, you start acting when we did not we did not observe properly. So the first one is right viewpoint. Then from there you go, okay, what's right thinking? What's right thinking? Repeat after me. Energy follows where you put your attention to. So if you keep complaining, your energy goes in that direction. If you look at the good in people, your energy goes in that direction. So when you look at people, you try to see the good in them, there's a high probability you will awaken the goodness within them. If you keep saying, this guy's no good for anything, and if they can't improve, it's partially our fault. Simple question. How many had this experience growing up? Your elders or somebody, parents or teachers, whatever, say, you're never going to do anything. And then what happens? When you grow up and you're at work, when things don't work, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe he was right. So that person, the energy actually implanted in your aura, and what happened? It partially caused your failure. Then you have mentors. This mentor, 5th grade, Mrs. Smith. When you're having a difficult time, you go, come on, Jack, you're doing well. Come on, everybody makes mistakes. You can do this. I know you do, blah, blah, blah. They encourage you. And sure enough, you succeeded. Now you're in your 60s, and you have a certain obstacle, you have certain doubts. Guess what? Jack, remember, you're not doing it. So, I can do it. You get the point? Right thinking. Now, this right thinking is not only for us, it could be for other people. It's both. Okay, I'll just go through this because of time. Right speech, I think that's obvious. Right action. Now, what's right livelihood? There are certain things that we do that cause suffering. So, for example, okay, some people might not like this. If you open up a casino, that's not right livelihood. You might make money, but other people will suffer. True, some will make money, but more people will suffer. That's not right livelihood. Do you get my point? How about lifestyle? You smoke. You say, well, yeah, but it's whatever. But if you look at the box, it says kills you. Right? So, you notice when you're doing spiritual practice, in the middle of meditation, well, because if your lungs are energetically dirty, as divine energy comes down, your heart starts to activate, you get stuck, so you cough. Do you get that point? So, right livelihood lifestyle has to be something that is conducive to your spiritual growth. How are we doing? Are we making you too uncomfortable? Oh well. This is my job. Next one, right spiritual effort. What spiritual effort? Like this. There are many interpretations, we'll just super simplify it. In plain English, you don't just wake up one day and say, ooh, I'm now a saint. You get my point? We do not become a saint by accident. It is probably through many lifetimes of what? Focused spiritual practice. So you complain, you go, I don't have inner peace, I don't have spiritual connection. Well, have you done anything about it? No, so who's to blame? Don't you notice if there's something important enough to you, what do? You make the time and you push yourself. True or not true? Well, what the Lord Buddha say? Everything's subject to change, right? Let's take it one step further. He said everything is impermanent. What? Impermanent. So, we have this problem. I say because all of us. We have a tendency to put 90-95% of our attention and focus on physical things that will one day disappear. Then we, with excess time, I got 5 minutes. Let me sit down and meditate. How are we doing? We're giving 5 minutes to something that is permanently ours. Yet the car, the house, and everything we have, one day will disappear. Doesn't it make sense to say, okay, I'll take care of my finances, I'll take care of my resources, but these are good and nice, but one day this will disappear. Why don't I start investing in my spiritual retirement? You get my point? So, instead of saying, I'll meditate and do my spiritual practice when I have the time, why don't you make the time? That's one reason why we have these video streams, these audio streams, whatever. You know why? So you run out of excuses. No, I'm serious. All of us go through it. If you say, hey, something's going on, I want to join it. Instead of, I have to press play on the CD. Okay. Am I making you uncomfortable? I apologize. That's not the purpose. Sometimes we just need a psychic wake up. Okay? Spiritual effort, right? One point is, how about right awareness? What does that mean? How many of you have heard people do walking meditation? I'm being aware of the soft grass underneath my feet, the clean, fresh air or the smoggy air of LA. Oh, that is good. Awareness, right? Awareness. I'm aware of this, I'm aware of that. All that is good. However, that is not the objective. It is not what? The objective. The objective awareness, you start with, let's say, I want to be aware of my body. That's good. I notice that my body, at some point, when I eat good food, the body is healthy. If it's enough rest, it's healthier. If I don't, it goes bad. You're observing. That's all good. But all of those will one day disappear. So proper awareness will be what? One awareness of who you really are. That you are a spiritual being having a physical experience, and as you focus on it, guess what happens? You spiritually develop. In other words, the most important awareness at a certain point is to be aware that what? You are the soul, you are a spiritual being using the body. That should be the initial objective. All these things about being aware of the sunlight, the air, those are good, but you should not get trapped there. That's why it's called what? Right awareness. That's a stepping stone, but that's not the objective. Are you guys still awake? Yes. See, the people watching, doesn't matter, I can see them. Okay. Let's talk about the last one, right oneness. What is right oneness? It's the same thing, you're walking. I remember this story of a kid. The kid is very sensitive. So the parents watching him. This little kid goes, the parent goes, what are you doing? Oh, I'm becoming one with the tree. I said, the tree sways in the wind, I sway in the tree. That's good. At least the concept for a little kid of oneness is there. But imagine for the next 50 years, that's all they do. You get my point? So, right oneness means what? First, okay, you practice, you meditate, you go, I'm not the body, I'm not the emotion, I'm not the thoughts. I'm observing. I am watching my body and making my body move. I'm feeling this positive or negative emotion. So the feeling and the feeler are separate. Good observation. So therefore, I'm not the emotion. You get my point? You know what that means, right? Nobody can piss you off unless you allow them to. Hello?
Yes.
In other words, no matter if somebody scream and yell, or you can say, I'm not going to respond. Now, a lot of people say, but that's not true. People know how to push my buttons, and I cannot help it. Have you heard that before? You want me to prove to you that you can do it? How many had this experience? The door memories. Can I help you? You had that experience before? Or you have an important phone call from your boss. You're having a big fight with your children, your parents, or whoever. Oh man, I have to sound good when I'm awesome. Yes? How's it? Oh, everything's fine. It simply shows if with the right motivation, you can control your emotions. Are we communicating? Yes. I know it sounds harsh, but that's how the teacher talked to me before. In fact, he expected me and a few of my co-disciples. You should be able to turn your emotions on and off like a faucet. But it could be done because all of us just needed what? Proper teaching and motivation. And the thoughts, I cannot control my thoughts. That's true at a certain level. With meditation practice, you can control your thoughts. So after you realize not the body, not the emotion, or thoughts, you go, what's left? I move the body, I feel the emotion, I created the thought. Who is this I? The spiritual self, the soul. You reading so far? So proper oneness is to first experience oneness with who you really are. Then you start to realize, hey, once I experience I'm one with who I really am, the soul, the spiritual being, I start noticing that I can sense the presence of angels and great teachers. Then you go, well, maybe I can be one with them too. Yeah, at some point in meditation, when you go beyond the form, the physical form, you realize, man, I'm just like a drop of water put into a glass. I'm now part of the water in the glass. Then you sense oneness with all. Do you get what we're saying? Yes. Anyway, this is very, very short one. We do inner Buddhism, we go through it the whole day, but this is the gist of it. In essence, when you practice the Eightfold Path properly, initially we reduce the amount of dukkha or suffering through what? Understanding. Then to make it more permanent, not permanent, but almost permanent, so things continue to improve, we continue to observe and adjust our practice. How are we doing so far? So, what are the four noble truths again? Number one, there is suffering in life. Is life all suffering? No. If it is, then what about doing anything? Right? So number one, what? There is suffering or dukkha in life. Number two, what are the origins? What are the quick one if you remember? Number one, enslavement to unwholesome, excessive desire. The second cause, the three C's. What are the three C's? Law of change, law of cycle, law of consequence, or law of karma. That's the part we can control. And what's the third noble truth? This suffering can end. What is one of the main things you can control? How long it lasts depends on our response and attitude and response. And what's the last one? How to end it. Through what? What is it? Number one? Right viewpoint, which involves what? Careful observation and interpret it properly. That's right viewpoint. And from there, everything goes from there. Right thoughts, right speech, right action, livelihood, spiritual effort, mindfulness, and oneness. That's it. This teaching has been repeated for thousands of years, over and over again. Here's the question. Is it because we forget?
Yeah.
Partially yes, partially no. Part of it is because, not because we forgot, but our attention shifts so much into daily life. And when you suffer, every year, the Lord God and all the higher beings have to remind us by bringing us back, by telling us the teachings again. Clear? So, that's the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path. And it is, not that word schedule. So it's 7:45. We'll take a 15-minute break, toilet break, so on. We'll start at 8 o'clock. The ones who are watching will start in 15 minutes. And I think it's done. Namaste.
Thank you.
God bless you. We'll see you in 15 minutes.